Do you know, I've not been this scared for a long time.
Witch trials, imprisonment and untimely death await the Most Haunted team as we journey to Devon. And this week I've brought my team to Exeter and to a place where witches once stood trial and many people were imprisoned. Welcome to Most Haunted and Exeter Old Courts. Built on the site of a Roman settlement following the Norman conquest, the courts have a long and often bloody history. Many would have been sentenced to death here over the years, and it was the location of the infamous Bideford witch trials which resulted in the last ever hanging for witchcraft in England. Given its fascinating history, which in turn has generated many stories of ghostly sightings, it is little wonder that Most Haunted have chosen to investigate. But what will we unearth tonight? We have 24 hours to find out. These are the cells, and unsurprisingly many people feel deep depression or even desperation when entering this forbidding place. Some even experience an uncontrollable anger. The sound of chains is said to permeate the very fabric of this building. But it's cell number 9 that still imprisons a terrifying entity. The ghost of a large male prisoner lurks here, angry that his incarceration has lasted past his death. He is said to confront any unsuspecting guest with an echoing voice shouting, "I'm bad." This is the courtyard, and if the stories are to be believed, then it's a very haunted place to be. Many people have seen the ghosts of soldiers, some of them carrying pikes. They're thought to be escorting judges to and from the assizes. Other people have seen what's described as witches hanging from the gates. Two adult spirits are said to haunt this, the post room. One is a dark-haired woman who is seen curled into the fetal position, sobbing uncontrollably. The other is a tall man who is thought to be desperate to communicate. The spirits of mischievous children are also witnessed here and thought to be responsible for the faulty electrics, which can turn on and off on their own accord. Would historian Leslie Smith be able to tell us more of the court's brutal past and the many that had final justice administered here?
We nowadays look at Exeter in a new way in terms of witches. I say a new way because there's been so much interest of it over the last years, particularly the Bideford witches, 3 of them. What makes them unusual is they were actually tried in the 1660s. Their names were Temperance Lloyd, Susanna Edwards and Mary Trembles. Some say they're the last witches to be hung in England, and indeed most of the evidence seems to point that that's the case. Other crimes, however, were tried here and people were given a particular form of justice. That is to go to Botany Bay and look at the New World and populate it. In 1788, a great group of people was sent from here, from the assizes. I have the names in my hand. Let's see if Brian finds them later, or some of them, sent away to populate the new shores of the far lands of Australia.
I believe that this is the first time that Kieran and I have actually been on an investigation together in what was once a working course of law. And given the location's long history and the many stories concerning those tried here, I wondered what parapsychologist Dr. Kieran O'Keefe was thinking regarding the coming investigation. Kieran, this obviously is a courtroom. Is this the first time we've done an investigation in a courtroom before together?
I think so, yeah. We have done some locations where there would have been trials set, but
as in an actual working courtroom looking exactly like this. I think this is the first.
It's very, very eerie, isn't it? Because it's got this sort of modern feel, especially the courtroom, and yet apparently lots of activity here dating back hundreds of years.
Yeah, it is a very bizarre location with a lot of layers, a lot of historical layers and a lot of different sorts of phenomena, and depending on which part of the location you're in, there's different phenomena that happens. There's some auditory, there's some visual, there's even some EVP, which I'm quite interested in.
What about the cells, which I know are a very creepy place? Are you looking forward to investigating those areas?
I am. I'm particularly interested in the cells because of the oppressive atmosphere that people have reported, the fact that it is underground, but also cell number 9 is a particular location within that environment where people have reported a whispering sound, almost to the point where they've been able to decipher exactly what the whisper is. So I'm interested in the cells because of the variety of phenomena, but also because I think it's a psychological hotbed of activity. If you go down to the cells, you know exactly what would have gone on there. You know that people would have been incarcerated, horrific crimes, there would have been a lot of emotion, and I think that preys on people's minds when they're down there.
Now, a lot of people have seen the ghosts of soldiers outside carrying pikes dating back to the time of the assizes, and I suppose that must be very interesting for all of us, really, because we're thinking modern, because this is a modern building.
Yeah, it's a very good test for us and also the medium as well, that there's not really a lot of visual cues around, because you're right, we're sitting in a very modern looking courtroom, but we're actually sitting in a location that has lots of layers and a castle going back to Norman times. So it's great from that perspective.
Joined by medium and psychic artist Brian Shepherd, we take our first steps into Exeter Old Courts. What phantoms will we encounter over the coming hours?
I feel like we're walking into an area, you know, of activity, of great activity.
But what I think we're talking about is definitely witchcraft. Angry, big man.
Something's crying down here.
The Most Haunted team are in Exeter, investigating the incredibly rich paranormal history of the old courts. We begin with our customary lit walk-around to orientate ourselves to our surroundings once darkness falls, and in the hope of meeting some of the spirits that are said to haunt this impressive building. What will we unleash over the coming night? As soon as you walk in somewhere like this, can you see things in front of you?
Yeah, I don't know, I just get the feeling of military, of soldiers.
What time period? Can you perhaps... Sorry, so soon.
Yeah. God, 1600s, late 1600s, I suppose.
You said...
you just get a sense of that, you know, being surrounded with a lot of activity, you know, a lot of movement. It definitely is. A lot of it is soldiers carrying things, maybe, I don't know, what were they, some sort of pike or something, if you like, you know.
Well, how about we walk over to the main building and see what you pick up there?
I think that would be very interesting.
All right, come on then.
Do.
Having satisfied ourselves to the surroundings that the old court stand in, we moved inside to the courtroom. Strangely modern given its long history, but understandable when you appreciate it was still in judicial use up until 2004. Here we go. I'm very interested to what you get in here.
Well, this is something else, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Well, there's lots of things coming in, and it's trying to sort it out. It's a bit of a jumble.
What I sense is that we have to go back, you know, centuries ago. I feel that, you know, this is where harsh sentences obviously were handed out to people for...
So in this space...
In this space
In this
as
space
opposed
now.
to what we're looking at now.
And when you say harsh, what
Well,
do
in
you
terms
mean?
of, you know, the death sentence, more often than not. But what I think we're talking about along the same period is definitely witchcraft. And I sense, I get a feeling of women here accused of witchcraft.
Okay.
You know,